6th draft. So you can see that at the bottom of Honeybun's budget, I have the outlets, the salaries, marketing, operations, food safety. I have quality. I have building maintenance. I have equipment maintenance. Now, I don't do these. I get the departments to do them. You can develop your staff by trying to let them put together a first budget that you look at. And when I'm finished, my financial controller looks at it. And then when she's finished, Danielle, my operations manager, look at it. So there is always opportunity for mistakes in these spreadsheets, but you're not going to be able to afford budgeting software at this time. Not yet. And I haven't been able to buy budgeting software as yet. So you're going to have to do your spreadsheets, make your mistakes, somebody catch your mistakes. So here I have found a mistake in my own spreadsheet. Anyway,
This is Sean, before you go further, the question had originally asked about how much would you borrow from the bank. We had some suggestion from the SMEs. What would be your suggestion in how much you do borrow to get that new equipment?
So if I was making a profit, first of all, if you're not making a profit, don't take this spreadsheet to the bank. And what I see here is that you're not making a profit.
But the question was around the cost of the machine, which was at 3 million. So you were asking, do you go to the bank for a loan for 3 million or over 3?
No, and I'm answering your question. Okay. So supposing I sold 1,000 products and I was now making a profit. Here's my profit. Then I can go to the bank. So if your machine is costing you 3 million and you're going to the bank with this document, if you look at your bank balance here, I have to change the CapEx to okay. So if you are going to the bank with this financial, because that's how you get loans, you take your financials to the bank, and if you're profitable and you can pay back the loan, then they'll lend you the money. A lot of other conditions. But if you took this to the bank, you will notice that your highest, and I showed you this, your highest number, because these are negatives, this is your lowest bank balance. You may have to look at it by looking at it here, would be 14 million. In July, you're going to be short 14 million. You only needed $1 million. So this business would need to be borrowing 14 million. Because you can't go into overdraft. Or you can go into overdraft. What you would have to do is you'd have to get an overdraft facility and you'd have to write in the interest charge in your overdraft facility.
So to get a to buy a $3 million equipment, I borrow 14 mil?
Yes, because if you are borrowing $1 million, what is happening here? Remember I said I need to work out if this is right, because here you are, even with your $3 million equipment or your $1 million equipment, you're still not making a profit. You're still not making a profit. So you'd have to increase the price or the amount you produce to be able to make a profit. Oh, no, you know what? These numbers are, these numbers are positive now because you increased your price. So this is why you have advisors, because once you make up your sheet, and if you want me to come in on a meeting that you're discussing your income, your cash flow, or your budget, subject to my availability, I will come. So, whoa, we don't need $1 million anymore, because once you got that equipment for $3 million, you are now making a profit. So the only time you will actually need a loan, and this doesn't even look like you need a loan. So guess what? You can even get 4 equipment and increase the sales. I'm just trying to set up the spreadsheet. You see here now, you've gone down to an overdraft of 390,000. So you could borrow 4 million. You could even just borrow 500,000. I probably said a lot of things that a lot of people feel lost about. That's how numbers are.
That's
That's how
me,
it
because numbers are not my strong point. So I'm
Yeah.
taking all of this in strides.
Okay. But you will not have to do this because we have back office accountants. But it is your business. I cannot put these numbers for you and then expect you to run your business. If you don't understand your numbers, then you have to at least understand it. And then because you don't like numbers, you give it, outsource the accounting. Somebody can update it for you every month. Somebody can give you monthly reports on your P&L. And all you need to do is to understand it. But at the beginning, even if somebody does this for you, you still need to understand it because it is your work plan. It is literally your work plan. Okay, so I'm going to pause here and say that we will come back again. I'll probably have to go over a lot of this with some of you because you're advisors. And let me tell you something, if you understand what I am doing, it will be a breeze for you because you might understand more than some of your advisors. Not all of them are strong in financials. Some of them are
True,
strong
yeah.
in marketing.
Mhm.
Some of them are strong in logistics. So different strengths, but we try to put at least one financial person in each group.
In each. Mhm.
Okay. And then once your financials are together, you discuss your strategies. Say, boy, this is all Greek to me, but what I do understand is that I'm trying to sell 1,000 products a month. So I'm getting 2 salespersons. You just need to understand the strategy that this is driving. This is driving your strategy. Make sure it's achievable. Okay, so I'm going to stop here because we've been going for an hour and a half and I don't want to burn you out, but this is the most that I will train on, but I'm prepared to go over it and over it and over it. So we've learned about cash flow. We've learned that your cash flow has nothing to do with your income statement. It's a different statement. It's how you use the money that you earn, how much money you need to borrow. And I have a much more complicated sheet that I won't share with you about how to have your loan repayment. Forget it. I'm not going to do that. So, you can pay incentives. This is your direct cost. That means every time your sales change, it's tied to this. You need to understand your cost of sale margins. You need to put in your prior year. You need to be able to, this is also another driver. I just use it to say, what am I going to use to calculate the new year's plan? Here, I'm increasing gas by 25%. I'm increasing motor vehicle report by 10%. This is 2 different ways to do the factoring. My marketing is going to be 20% or 5%, which aligns with your sales. We can forget about bank charge. Just use whatever you did last year, unless you plan to do something more. So as long as you understand where these red numbers are coming from. And we edit this spreadsheet for you so it's aligned with your business. Some people use products, some people use pounds, some people use bottles, bowls, hours. You can use
Customers.
dollar signs as well. Do I like dollar signs? No. Why don't I like dollar signs? Most budgets are done with dollar signs. I don't like dollar signs because they don't drive a strategy. You hire a salesperson and say, okay, I'm hiring you to sell $1 million a month. And they say, okay, what do they go home and do? $1 million a month. How am I going to achieve that? They only did 500,000 last year. The way when you put other drivers like bowls is, you can calculate how many bowls you need to sell an hour. You can figure out that you need to sell bowls cheaper from 11 till 12 so you can get more generated during those hours. You're able to develop so much more strategy if you use drivers to be aligned with your business. So it also helps you because you can plan on buying, if you're going to make your budget, 1,000 bowls a month. So it helps your purchasing. It helps once you help your purchasing, it can also help your I guess purchase order. So some of you will have more expenses. Look on your income, look at your accountant's report and see what income categories they use. Just to introduce you to an accounting term, they call these expenses or these things general ledger. It's an accounting code. The reason they use number codes is because you may put in a name, motor, and then the computer brings up reports and you post something in repairs. Lots of reasons why accountants use numbers. I'll take 3 questions. One could be, I don't understand anything.
No questions?
Are we
Um,
getting this document, Mrs. Strong?
You will get the
This-
template. If you want
the
to have this
template.
document as well, you could get it. I don't have anything.
This is what you had emailed, right, Nashana?
Yes,
I would love to
yes.
get a copy. I would love to get a copy.
Guys, I sent you this last
Yes,
week.
this was
Check
sent.
your
I saw it
email.
in my inbox.
Yes.
You didn't
we
know
do
it,
have
you
it.
don't remember because it wasn't important to you, but now it's like bread and butter, it's like breakfast.
Exactly.
Know that it's your breakfast, you're not
Looking
gonna
at it.
ignore it. But I'm not sending this one because I think there's a formula, there may be a formula error that I want to check, and I don't want to drive it based on somebody else's business model. So this could be called your business model too, and you could get very creative. Sell at very high margins.
Um,
Andrew,
Mrs.
you have a
Chung, I had a
question?
question. Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Remember, I can't
So,
always see everybody on my
oh,
screen.
no problem,
So
no
you
problem.
have to let me know
Yeah,
who
it was really good. You clarified that the
That's
CapEx goes
Andrew.
in a different section.
Yes,
And I noticed here, these expenses, you said operating expenses, right?
yes,
Okay. Fixed expenses would go in there as well?
yes. Give me an
Okay.
example of one.
I don't know, rent.
Good.
I guess JPS and like utilities, I guess
Exactly.
is variable, but
Yeah, but you could make your utilities be a percentage of your sales, or you could just decide, boy, no matter what I do.
okay.
Yeah.
I
So
guess I have like 1 million expenses, so that little section would be very vast and crowd up my
So-
spreadsheet.
for you, Nam, by the way, if it's a fixed expense, you can just go there and let the cell beside it be equal to it. I'm spending
Okay.
about $10,000. Okay, so you have 1 million different things. What I would recommend for you, Nam, is that you don't put the food and the hostel on the same thing.
Okay.
Food is going to follow different rules from the hostel.
Ah.
So I would
Okay.
have this spreadsheet be for food,
For the cafe.
rename. And I would put in another one like this. And that's where anybody has a business that has mixed revenues. And I would
That was
put this sheet,
literally going to be my question.
okay, this sheet for hostel. And you use different rules. You use the same template, but different rules. And this one become rooms. And you may have a different, of course, your hostel is gonna cost you very little because there's no real material cost. So you're gonna have better margins. So that answers your question. And then once you get somebody like a Mrs. Chong or a Daniel Chong, who Daniel is on,
My team.
okay, he's with you, Vicky. Daniel is like the best person at Excel ever. Like, I let him check mine. I go to him for new formulas. So he's your
Mrs. Chong, you never told me that.
oh my gosh. Okay, so he can do a new spreadsheet that combines the two. He can do a new spreadsheet that does your overall business total. I'm doing that with Dylan right now. Dylan has a farm and he has stores. Two different spreadsheets, two different strategic roadmaps. Okay, so
Miss
very
Okay, that makes a lot of
And
sense.
just to clarify, this is if the revenue or the segment is totally different.
yes.
Okay.
Like you might
Because,
see that cafe has drinks and lunch. Forget about that. Just do your average spend. Doesn't matter what they buy. And if your food costs are from 10% to 20%, you can use your last year numbers to average out your food cost. When you average food and drinks, they may come to 30%. Use averages there. Any other questions? That was a great question.
I have a question. So when you started talking about to say if you want to increase, just increase your margins. So I say, as a service-based business, for example, my question you kind of touched on, because I was saying in my line of business where we do marketing, communications, programs, we do training, etc. There are different categories and there are different lines. So for example, one of the things we've been trying to do is to get more SMEs on board. And so I think the price point we charge SMEs, we wouldn't charge an international organization based on budget variances. And so from my end, I said, all right, we're doing what we call our A-tier clients, but then we also want to diversify with MSMEs, and we also roll in our training programs. And so I think of those as three distinct categories, and I wasn't sure on my revenue section how to see you moving that sheet there. So I was trying to figure out in my mind, how do I capture all of this instead of trying to lump everything together, because I would want to see what is contributing the most to my business, what is working for me probably versus what I need to drop.
Okay, so one of the things you can do, and I did this for a company recently, is you can have two different types of revenue. And that's if you understand spreadsheets enough and you want to go out into it. And you can have food costs for the two different types of business. So your food cost for your small business, your cost for your small business might be 60 and you make more margins on your large businesses. And you can put units, you can put copy, and you can put in, let me put it in there. So what I'm doing here is I'm splitting the one worksheet into two different products. But you have to have the projections for how many of the small are you planning on and how many of the large. And then how many units you plan to sell in your small, and how many units you stand, and what you call it now, how many units you plan, how many customers per se in each one. This would be a little more complicated, but I can do it when I'm not trying to do this, what I'm doing. But you would split the products. I could show you an example of it. Wow. Let me show you after, Shanoy, how I split up. And I'll probably send you that template. How I
Okay.
split up 4 different income revenue, types of income revenue. So that's a special case. Any other questions? So I did that different from having 2 very different businesses, because his expenses would be so different. Okay. Any other question? What great questions though.
One question. Is the back
Yeah, I
office
mean-
open yet?
What's
I-
that?
the back office service, is that up and running?
Well,
I started my budget. I may
yes,
have made a few alterations to some formulas, so I
yes.
do need to go back. My first meeting with my advisors is Thursday, so I want to prepare that for it. So
I'm
I
so
think
proud
we
of
have
you.
made some errors.
Proud of you, Eileen.
Thank you.
So,
But I would love somebody to help me with,
yes,
you
so
know,
we
to
started with
oversee.
the legal side, and I'm sure Paula would be prepared to spend time. I think Paula's problem now is that it's tax time,
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
she has a company, so maybe she has somebody else who will work with you.
Everybody's so busy at tax time.
Yeah, but
So
it's
I
okay.
understand.
Don't assume they don't have time for you. Ask them.